Fuck you, dogs matter. Nick and Chris coming at you from Bucks Dog Training, where we are passionate about empowering individuals to reclaim their relationship with their dogs. We facilitate effective communication between dogs and their humans, enabling them to forge stronger connections and achieve their training goals. Through our efforts, we aim to create a community where everyone can experience the joys of a great life with their dogs. Hey everyone, Buck you, dogs matter. Nick and Chris coming at you. We have a special guest tonight. We've got Steph from our Virginia facility. She's here joining us. Welcome, Steph.
Hey,
Glad to have you.
glad to be here.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about how to stop unwanted behaviors. We did get a special request from one of our clients her daughter just recently got a dog who will not stop counter surfing. And we know that that can be a very dangerous behavior depending on what they get into. They
Yes.
could eat something that's really dangerous for them,
Yes.
poisonous. They could eat something that can get lodged in their intestines, causing them to go through surgery or potentially, have something worse happen. So
Mhm.
it is a very dangerous behavior that does need to be stopped. And so
Have
we do want to make that aware that, certain behaviors
right.
while certain situations it's not that dangerous, there are other situations where it can be quite detrimental.
Have Has she explained to you what they're trying to do to stop that
Well,
behavior?
according to them, they've tried just about everything. But, people say that and they don't really
Yeah.
know what to do. So they've tried whatever they can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's happening when they're not there.
Mm-hmm. How about
So
a crate?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's well and good. But I don't know if they have a crate. I don't know if well, it could also be happening while they're home, just
Mm-hmm.
not paying attention to the dog,
Right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there's, any number of variables involved. So we're going to talk about, okay, what have we done to stop unwanted behaviors, especially counter surfing, but pretty much anything. You've got barking, you've got jumping, you've got nipping, you've got all sorts of whining. Oh, the whining. And, there's an untold number of things that dogs can do that can be really annoying. Like when they scratch at you, when they, some people don't like when dogs lick their face. Some people
Or
don't like
sitting in a
when,
crate all night.
yeah. Well, that would be a problem.
Oh, that is a problem.
That would be a
Problem
problem.
I have right now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I've got two of them.
Well, the dog's 4 years old. 4.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, so we are going to talk about how to stop these unwanted behaviors. And we have discussed, various ways that you could stop from, positive reinforcement to negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. And what does that really mean? And what kind of training does that actually look like? Because most people have no idea. And those are, for those that are unaware, the 4 quadrants in the learning diagram. So there's 4 quadrants made up in how someone can learn in learning theory. And most people, know about the one, the positive reinforcement. It's widely known. It's one of the best methods to teach a dog a new trick. And people think that it can also be used to stop unwanted behaviors. And to a degree, it can. Will it completely eliminate a behavior? Typically not, because the entire scientific premise is when you use something positive and reinforcement means increasing of a behavior, you're now trying to use something positive to increase the behavior, but the behavior you're trying to increase is actually something you're trying to eliminate.
Mhm.
So doesn't quite make sense.
No.
But their mindset is, well, we're going to redirect them into a different behavior, thereby circumventing the behavior that we're trying to prevent. So rather than actually stopping the behavior, they're just trying to get the dog to avoid the situation that's causing that behavior and
Mhm.
then get them to do something else, which in some cases can work. But when you're talking about a dog who is unsupervised, that is not going to work.
Exactly. I was just about to say that, like, maybe if they're present and they're in the kitchen at the
Yes.
same time, let's just say they have a cue word that they tell the dog. So if they
Mm-hmm.
see the dog nose up, starting to show interest to what they have on the table, they might use a cue word, redirects the dog's attention to them. Boom, they give it a treat.
Yes,
What happens when they're not standing there?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So it only works when someone's actually there to monitor the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's nobody there, then there's nothing to prevent the dog from making the wrong choice. And that's the dilemma that the positive only tend to face, because they think that anything can be solved with positive only, which a lot of things can be, but you can't eliminate a behavior using positive reinforcement. That is the antithesis of positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement means adding something to increase the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to add something to increase the behavior, how are you going to eliminate that behavior?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not
Right.
doable. It just goes against the actual premise of what positive reinforcement is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, in my opinion, that's the definition of positive reinforcement from a scientific standpoint. So how
So,
are you going to use that to eliminate a behavior?
so are they open-minded in regards for a
I believe they are.
solution with balance training?
I believe they are.
Okay.
I believe so. So,
Mm-hmm.
balance training is all about, using all four quadrants.
Mm-hmm.
And to truly eliminate a behavior, you do have to introduce usually a negative. It doesn't always have to be introducing a negative experience, but it should be something that's going to deter the dog. And
Mm-hmm.
one dog's version of a negative could be another dog's version of, its greatest reward. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to go based on the dog. Some dogs hate water. You can use a water pistol
Mm-hmm.
to stop a dog. That's sometimes enough of a negative reinforcer that they will stop doing that behavior. So it really is going to depend on the dog and what they find to be completely abhorrent to them.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to hurt them. Water isn't going to hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
But if it stops them, then that's actually technically a positive punishment, because you're actually introducing something to the equation to reduce the behavior. You're introducing the
Right.
water or the air or the bunker or the e-collar or the prong collar, or some type of incentive that you're introducing to entice that dog to stop doing a behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That old can of penny trick.
Yeah. Yeah, an old can of coins or stones. You can put that on the edge of the counter. And I've actually said that to clients. It's an old trick, but it
Mm-hmm.
still works. You can absolutely do that,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're not there. And set the dog up. Put something really juicy right there, but make sure the can is right in front so that as soon as they jump up, they hit that can and boom, they hear the
Mm-hmm.
noise. And hopefully it's enough to deter them. And it's not going to work for every dog. Please be
No.
clear. It's not going to work for every dog.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to find something that's going to work for your dog.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's the dilemma. That's the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that, then you're good.
I feel like if it's a mild case of excessive barking, that's something I would just recommend to someone. Shake the can.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, give your word for like shh and shake.
Yes.
All right, for the barking. But I don't think that would work for counter surfing. Like,
Unless you
there's too
throw it
much
in the
on.
vicinity.
Technically, there's too much on the table, right?
Well, if you throw it in the vicinity of the dog to make enough noise to startle the dog,
Right.
then that might work.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it hits something really loud,
Mm-hmm.
then the dog could get spooked.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, then it would be like, oh, okay. Now it's going to create that really loud, startling noise to wanting to jump up on the counter. And then it may stop it from doing that. Your thoughts, Steph?
I like to use a phone in one room and then leave the room and set the dog up,
Okay.
because they're very smart, these dogs, and they know when you walk out of the room. So you have another cell phone. And then when they act on their impulse, you could even make that correction from outside the room with a mean growly no. And then they're like, oh, they can see me even when they're not in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So the other way that you can actually utilize, which a lot of our clients actually do, is you can use an e-collar. It's an electronic collar. It's the reason why. It's not the entire reason why the e-collars came around. Really, the reason why e-collars came around was because a lot of hunters and other sports-minded individuals were using it for training purposes. But it also is a really good tool as a punisher to introduce from a remote location, that you can offer a consequence And it doesn't have to be severe. It's just enough to get the dog's attention. And you can even use a tone or vibration, okay, to get that dog to understand, hey, you know what? I still have eyes on you, even though you can't see me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so it just gives the dog notice that, hey, I know you're doing something you're not supposed to. Now you know that I know you're doing something you're not supposed to. So stop.
Right.
You know?
And one of the things that I talk to clients about a lot is not allowing the dogs to rehearse or practice that behavior that they don't want. So the barking incessantly at the window when people are passing by, scoring, that turkey carcass off of the counter.
Right.
Like, there does have to be quite a bit of management, because if that dog is successful at getting that reward,
Yes.
there's a payoff. And
yeah.
if we don't allow them to practice, chances are they're going to do it a lot less.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And that is a great point, because a lot of reasons why dogs have developed certain behaviors is because it's been allowed. They've gotten away with it. Plus, not only have they gotten away with it, but now they're getting this huge reward. So why wouldn't they? Why would they not repeat a behavior where they got the jackpot?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense. If you're going to stop a behavior, then you have to stop rewarding that behavior. Just like when dogs jump, what is the first thing most people do? They reach out and put their hands on a dog. You've now just reinforced, because you've given that dog a reward, because you may be thinking you're pushing the dog away, but the dog's thinking, hey, my owner just put their hands on me. Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm ecstatic. I'm going to keep doing this again, because they're paying me attention. They don't know that they're trying to push you away. They just know that you've got your hands on them. So you got to be careful and aware of what exactly, what message are you giving your dog? Are you really reinforcing, or are you, doing the opposite and trying to actually eliminate the behavior through your actions? And there are a lot of ways where you can do like a negative punishment, meaning you take your attention away. You don't feed into the behavior by, ignoring it, or by, just walking on by, or not acknowledging in any way, shape, or form, giving no energy, no attention, and no affection to the dog. That's a negative punishment to stop a behavior. You're going to ignore it. Now, does it always work? No, because some dogs are just going to get on you anyway. And that negative punishment is, they're going to just be like, yeah, whatever. I'm just going to go do whatever I want to do, because this negative punishment you're offering me doesn't outweigh the positive feeling I get from doing the bad thing, and that's really where the crux is, because, people want to try and be as humane and as nice and as, politically correct as they can be and not hurt their dog. But you can correct your dog without hurting your dog. In fact, you're doing your dog a favor, and you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't.
Actually, I was just about to say that they're actually hurting the dog more if they don't
exactly
correct the dog from that behavior.
Yes.
One day that dog will ingest something that is on the table that it just really shouldn't have.
Yes.
Chicken bones, bottle of Tylenol, something.
Yeah.
Right.
And how dangerous is that?
It's fatal.
That's much more dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about a momentary discomfort, maybe a momentary uncomfortableness. And you think that is going to outweigh the potential life and health of the dog?
To me, it's almost, first, there's several different components that I would have to ask the client first. Like, one, does this dog have free roam of the house? Has it earned the right to have free roam of the house? Yeah. Because if it's a puppy, right, and it's starting to counter surf, leave a leash on the dog.
Yes.
When it jumps up, pop that collar firmly. No.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I mean, I hear people all the time, oh, yeah, my puppy who's only, 10 weeks old has free run in the house. And I look at them, I'm like, you're what?
Yeah.
So then I ask the question. So do you just leave your toddler unsupervised and have free roam of the house? And they look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, well, no, of course not. And then I look at them, I'm like, well, then why are you doing it to your puppy who's a toddler? Who has no self-control?
That's what I'm saying. Like, this client who's interested to talk about counter surfing, there's more to it than just the counter surfing, because basically they have not established boundaries with the dog.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no, yeah,
Right.
if the dog feels that they can do whatever they want, there's no boundaries, there's no structure
Hmm.
or very minimal,
Hmm.
and the dog feels that they can get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, all three of us, if our dogs were going to get into something and
Hmm.
you just verbally did a,
Yeah.
a Steph kind of no,
Yeah. Yeah. They would
right?
look at you
You
like,
don't think our dogs would know to just walk away from that?
oh, absolutely.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah. Because we set the
so
boundaries.
there's more to it,
Yeah.
right? It's not just the problem of the counter surfing.
Well, yeah, they respect us because they know we're going to hold them accountable. If they
Mhm.
continue that behavior, they know 100% there's going to be a consequence.
Right,
100%.
right. And that's what I'm saying with this client who said to talk about counter surfing. There's more to it that she needs to do. Her issue is not just counter surfing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's
Yes.
a great point. It's the relationship
Mm-hmm.
that, is not where it needs to be, because if the dog feels comfortable enough to do what they're doing and they're not going to stop
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you verbally tell them, then yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's some repairing that has to happen with the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
100%. The
Mm-hmm.
dog's basically running the house.
Yeah, I
That's what
have
it
a
comes down to.
Instagram reel with Mr. Darcy, the
Mm.
golden retriever.
Yeah.
He counter surfed real bad, like,
Yeah, I
and
remember.
really, really bad.
Yes.
And yeah, it was a big problem. I think because the in-laws lived in the house, and
Yeah.
clearly the in-laws aren't too fond of having a dog to begin with, different generation, right?
Yes.
She's got all her stuff on the counter. So I think there was a lot of tension because
Hmm.
of that, right?
Right.
And so when Darcy came in for training, I set him up heavy. I toasted some hot dogs, cut them up, anything, like, because it's the aroma to it. Like, you see
Oh
his
yeah.
nose going, right?
Hmm.
Beef bone, pasta with the melted cheese. Like, yep, we
Boy,
challenged.
man, you didn't even give him a chance.
No, but and I went up to the second floor because
Right.
dogs know if you're, no, I was like
Yeah.
MIA. He could not
Yeah.
see me. I was not in sight. And we
Hmm.
recorded it. And you could
Uh-huh.
see he smells it, he
Yeah.
avoids. He's just sitting there looking the other way, like he's just making the right decision.
That's awesome.
Right. But it's you see what the difference is? It's him making the right decision at that point
Exactly.
where we're not even in the room.
Yes. That's the mark of someone who's actually understands boundaries. And it's been instilled in him. It's been instilled that he knows, hey, if I make this choice,
Mhm.
100%, there's going to be a
Mhm.
consequence, whether there's somebody here or not.
That's why
100%.
that's why I'm saying for her, it's not just counter surfing. There's layers to it that she has to
Absolutely.
address.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like to also use a strong leave it command for the
Hmm.
counter, because when we train leave it in our program, right? Leave it means you never get it. It's not like you leave it and then, oh, you get it a little bit later. Leave it is like it's toxic, rat poison,
Hmm.
something we don't want the dogs messing with. So a dog does any counter serving, no, strong leave it. If you can teach the leave it with a hot dog on the ground, like Christine is saying,
Hmm.
then we could teach the counter is also a leave it. That's
Yes.
never negotiable, just like the garbage is a leave it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I used to, way back, I used to train the dogs to poison. I would say poison to
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
anything that they were never, ever allowed to touch, ever.
Yep.
It could be anything. But if I said poison, man,
Mm-hmm.
avoid it like the plague. You will
Yep.
not touch that thing.
Yep.
And I made sure that was rock solid in every dog, because, there are so many toxic things out there.
Mm-hmm.
And dogs are just like, oh, yeah, I'll just smell that and I'll lick it and taste it. And, next thing you know, you're calling poison control.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's very real when you're walking a dog in New York City,
Oh, yeah.
right? I mean,
Yes.
it's real world stuff.
Yeah. Because there's garbage everywhere. There's people leaving stuff all over the place. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's,
Yep.
that's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyone else have any other comments about stopping unwanted behavior? Like, what are the things that you've tried that have worked? What other unwanted behaviors that you think our listeners would love to hear about?
Are we just addressing with the counter surfing right now, or did you want to address like excessive barking,
No, I mean, we should talk about, because
jumping?
jumping, nipping, barking, I think those are all definitely those nuisance things that dogs do that people definitely want to eliminate. I mean, that's usually the main things that I hear almost every time.
Mhm.
Jumping, nipping, barking excessively.
Mhm.
Counter surfing, a little bit here and there, but mostly the barking, the nipping, and the jumping are the top three
Mhm.
behaviors that my clients are like, if we could stop that, oh my God,
Mhm.
life would be so much better.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. So when I have to address excessive barking,
Mm-hmm.
right, I tell my clients that if the dog barks once, twice, three times, it's doing its job to alert you that there's someone at the door.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to take away the dog from being a dog.
Right.
Okay. Like dogs have to bark, right?
Yes.
If anybody says, I don't want my dog to bark at all, that's not being realistic. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anything after, like the Amazon guy, if he drove down the block and already made a right and he's already out of sight and the dog's still barking for the last,
That's a problem.
yes, that's a problem. That's something, yes, that we will address, right?
Absolutely.
And it depends on the dog. There's so many different methods that you could try, right?
Yes.
Depends how determined this dog is, how headstrong it is, right?
Oh, yes.
Or it could have potentially never been told no,
Yes.
right?
We've had a lot of those like
Believe it
that.
or not, yes,
I know.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it depends on the level of how determined this dog is.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You could shake the penny cans, all right?
Mhm.
You could leave a collar on the dog with the leash,
Mm-hmm.
right? It goes to bark at the door. It's easy accessible for you to pick up the collar, give it a pop,
Yep.
and basically assertively say no.
Yep.
Enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Christine. The no meaning something. So the dog's barking and I'm saying no, no, no. I'm barking with the dog. There's,
Right.
again, no, like Nicole's saying, no negative consequence.
Mhm.
Once I start pairing the no with a negative consequence,
Mhm.
you'd be amazed how quickly the dog's like, oh, no means no.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I also like
Exactly.
teaching a bark and a quiet command with a
Mm-hmm.
high value treat, right?
Mhm.
As soon as they shut up, high value treat. As soon as they bark, high value treat.
Mhm.
Shut up and bark. We had some folks staying at our house one time and I had a dog that barked on command. I wanted these people to know that I had a dog in the house. They were in the basement. It was an
Right.
Airbnb situation.
Mhm.
Long story, but having your dog bark and quiet on command is a valuable skill.
Mhm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And there are so many things you can teach your dog to do. You can even teach him to bark, a particular number of times if you really want to get that technical.
Mhm.
You can teach your dog to pretend to count.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3. So there's any number of things. It depends on how creative you want to get.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You can have a lot of fun with it.
Mhm. Yeah, but
but
no, that's actually a good point. Steph made.
yeah.
Teach a dog to bark, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll bark, it'll bark, it'll bark. And then when you go, shh, then it knows to be quiet, right?
Exactly.
So
Yes.
you can actually teach it that trick, have fun with it, and
Mm-hmm.
then use it for certain circumstances when guests arrive or package comes, right? Or anything that's going to be a trigger to that dog.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Heck, you can even teach your dog to pee and poop on command. I've had that
Yeah.
happen.
Mhm.
Oh,
And then,
that's
and then when they're about
very
in mid
valuable.
poop, and you tell them no, let me tell you, it works. I've
Mhm.
done it.
Mhm.
Well, you know what? Having a command for pottying is
Yes.
very valuable. It sounds funny, but when the weather is inclement or you're in a strange place with your dog and they're a little bit uncomfortable and they know that that's their command to eliminate,
Yes.
it has helped me many times.
Mhm.
Yes. Service dogs. I've trained service dogs, believe it or not, to go on command
Mhm.
because you want them to go, before you go into a store. So you take them, walk them around, and you give that command, hey, go potty. And you may
Mhm.
want to differentiate, pee versus poop. So you may want to call it a different name for each one so that they do both. Okay. But
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. You want the ability to be able to have them eliminate on command.
Mm-hmm. Is there a command to make them stop?
Yeah. I say no.
On command.
I say no and they stop.
Well, we know you've got a very magical no.
Yeah. Right. I can't tell you how many clients are like, can you just come live with me? And I said no. And then they're like, well, can you record your voice for us? And I'm like, sure. That I can do. Just open up a YouTube video or Facebook. I got plenty of videos on there. Just throw my voice out there.
Yeah.
They're like,
Actually,
it's
that's one of the
amazing.
things that I do is for the excessive barking.
Mm-hmm.
I have my clients record their doorbell.
There you go. That's
So,
awesome.
so that way I can desensitize the dog from that. And
Yeah.
Good idea.
yeah, and then one of my clients, Bagheera's family, they had a newborn little girl. So
Mhm.
every time he heard the doorbell, he'd go running to the door and explode barking.
Right.
So this is the one that when I trained him that when he hears the doorbell, go to place,
Mm-hmm.
go straight to place, report to place.
Yeah. Nice.
So instead of having to say go place, because
Mm-hmm.
the wife is so busy with the baby, right?
Yes.
So hear the doorbell, boom, he was running to place. And I proofed it because I did it at the facility.
Mm-hmm.
We played the recording and just wanted to see, is he like rock solid with it? And is he just not doing it with,
Right.
with me? And boom, he jumped right onto a place.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
See, that's the magic of generalizing a command so that they'll do
Mhm.
it anywhere, anytime
Yep.
for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the key. That's why we do cross training.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
Yep.
critical
Mm-hmm.
because, it's great when a dog can do a trick or the obedience for a particular person. But man, is that going to suck for the owner when the dog goes back and it won't listen to anything?
Mm-hmm.
You have to generalize the commands enough and have enough hands touching that dog that he knows no matter who's giving him a command, he's got to do it. He's got to comply because there's always going to be a consequence no matter who's giving the command.
Mm-hmm.
And once they get that concept, then I find that they're a lot less resistant to
Mm-hmm.
their owners. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, I think we all benefit from the cross training.
Mm-hmm.
All the dogs benefit from the cross training because the biggest thing is when it's a family and they have kids.
Yeah,
I'm like, the dog
absolutely.
has to listen to the kids too,
Oh, yeah.
right? Not
Mhm.
just to the parents.
Yes.
Okay. So I clearly communicate that
Mm-hmm.
with the parents and hey, when we do the turnover, bring the kids too,
Yeah.
right? Because they got to know too.
Exactly. Yeah. I always tell them bring the whole family because anyone who's going to have any significant impact with this dog or interaction with this dog should be there. That way
Mhm.
they're hearing it directly from the trainer. They all get to practice. If they all mess up, they all get the opportunity to be corrected.
Mhm.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And we have to do a lot of correction,
Mhm.
mostly on the humans, sometimes on the dogs.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah. But it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So any other issues or problems that you guys encounter amongst all your clients? What's the most unusual thing that you've been asked to stop?
The most unusual.
Yeah. I'm sure you all have to have something unusual that a client asked you, you know what, we just really got to get this dog to stop doing this.
A lot of hole digging, which is not unusual, but to the degree, I had this one dog that like practically dug up the yard.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have huskies, so I know all about the digging. I mean, they're just incessant with that. I mean, there's a reason why they do it. Evolutionarily, there's a reason. I get that, but it's still annoying as hell.
Yes.
Especially when you twist your ankle because you stepped into a hole.
Right.
Yeah, that's no fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of something that's unusual that
Mhm.
it's
I mean,
going to probably come to my mind after the fact.
most people usually ask me to get their dogs desensitized to touch of various parts of their body, especially the nail clipping.
Uh-huh.
It's not necessarily stopping a behavior. It is in a way because it's stopping them from, trying to push off you or bite you because you're touching their paws or touching a sensitive part of their body. So you're, teaching them to accept that touch. But I think that's probably the most unusual, especially when you have to get them desensitized to being touched in a certain part of their body that people shouldn't really touch unless you're a vet.
Right.
We have
I think I think the nail clipping one is tough because we can get the dog desensitized where we can touch the front paws, back paws, mess around with their nails, right? But if they're not the ones that are going to be doing the cutting the nails, and it's going to be the groomer, or if it's going to be their vet, that's very difficult.
Right.
To say, okay, we're going to desensitize because you're not the one that's going to be doing it.
Right. But again, just like with most other commands, if you get them to the point where a lot of people can touch the dog's paws and clip them, then that dog starts to generalize that to the point where, okay, no matter who's touching, all right, I just got to sit here and deal with it. So it is more difficult, but you do have to have enough people kind of putting hands on that dog and doing that activity with him that he becomes desensitized to it and just accepts it no matter who's doing it.
Are you
but it usually
okay
takes a
with?
lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nicole, are you okay with, like, we have one right now, a Pomsky, who's very front paw sensitive, and he's gotten much better. We've got him here just a couple of weeks. He's gotten much better when we touch his paws.
Right.
But when we clip his paws, we still use a muzzle for him.
Yeah.
And he's reacting much, much less. But would you be okay with, hey, when he gets his nails clipped, there's no shame in putting a soft muzzle on?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Like when I first start desensitizing a dog, especially if I know that they're reactive to that, I put a muzzle on them 100%. Yep. And some dogs, I'm going to put a muzzle on them no matter how desensitized they are because of the reactivity.
Yep.
Some dogs I can work them through it, and other dogs it's like, there's always going to be a certain level of reactivity. So yeah, they're just going to have to keep that muzzle on. Unfortunate, but that's just the reality. I'd rather the dog have a muzzle than me get bit.
Right. And with this guy, nail clipping is one thing. Somebody inadvertently touching his paws is going to happen.
Right.
And so that's a high priority is being able to touch his paws. He does, if you read his language, his body language, he's very clear though. As soon as you go to touch his paw, he starts licking his lip.
Yeah. Yeah. He's giving you all the warning signs. Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, if a dog gives you some warning signals, pay attention, people. And okay, I get it that not everyone knows what those warning signs are, but when a dog starts to excessively lick itself, can you do that demonstration again, Steph? Just had to do that. But when you see a dog excessively, licking its chops, when it starts to yawn, when its tail gets tucked, yes, whale eye, when you can see the whites of its eyes, when it's giving you what they call the side eye, where, they're kind of looking at you, giving you that side, like, yeah, come a little closer and I may bite you type of look. So just be aware when you see a dog doing all those things, get intense, seeing that ridge along its back, stand up, pay attention. That dog's telling you clearly, yo, dude, I'm uncomfortable. Back the F up before I bite you. They're giving you all the warning signs. And there are so many others. A flick of an ear, a little bit of a movement in their mouth. If they curl their lip just the slightest little bit, sometimes just a little lip on the front where it just kind of moves up just slightly like a twitch. But if you don't pay attention to that, the dog is telling you very subtly, but he's telling you, hey, don't do it, dude. Or if you are, just letting you know, I'm warning you. I'm going to bite you. Because you're making me uncomfortable.
And we will take that warning over the no warning.
Yes, absolutely. But here's the thing. We know what to look for.
Yes.
The average person out there doesn't. They don't even notice it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even
Yeah.
paying attention to that little minute movement of their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I miss it if I'm not paying attention closely. But there are so many other signs that I look for that I usually will catch. And most of the time I'll catch that little lip movement, but even some of the junior trainers don't catch that. And then something bad happens. But you got to
Do you
always be
feel
looking out.
do you feel like that way about like punishing the growl or not punishing the growl? Like, is that a vocalization and a warning that you'd want people to pay attention to? Or do you think, hey, you know what, that's a step too far? Or does it really depend?
It really does depend. For me, and this is just my personal gauge. So everyone can be a little bit different. And it depends on the dog and the severity of the reaction. So for most dogs, especially if they know how to communicate properly, I will allow them to growl at other dogs, but never at a human, because they don't have the right to growl at a human because they're not superior to us. Okay. In a level as far as leadership. Now, when they're communicating to a dog, they're basically saying, you know what? One, I'm uncomfortable with you. Two, I have the right to correct you because, we're either at even level or I'm above you. So I have that right to correct you or at least warn you. So if that's all they're going to do, I'm okay with that because it is part of their communication.
Yeah.
That's how they talk to each other. So that I will allow. But if it's a dog who is really aggressive, especially with other dogs, and that is that one precursor to a launch, and it's really depending again on what's the end result of that. Is it just to warn, or is it just to be like, okay, the next step is I'm gonna attack you. If it's the I'm gonna attack you, then I don't allow it. I don't even allow them to think the thought. As soon as they even start to think about that, and again, you can tell, as soon as they just get still, before they actually even launch, before the lip curls, they just stop and stare. Boom. That's when I'm correcting.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference is really that early reading body language and early intervention
Yes.
is tremendous.
Yeah, because you have to correct there before it gets into a full blown.
Correct. So if they're already launching,
Yeah,
you're too late. You were too late with your correction.
exactly.
Way too late.
Yeah. At that point, your best bet is hope to God you have a leash on that dog and control the situation with the leash. Because you've already lost control of the dog itself. And that reaction and your opportunity to give the proper correction.
Yeah, I have a dog. He redirects on the leash that I'm dealing with right now. Like he came in quite severe, right? Like any dog, it could be across the street. It doesn't matter. It fits. So dogs can smell before sight, right? Once he picks that up, his antenna's already up. That tail is up and he's already looking for it.
Yeah.
And once it's within his sight, he is launching.
Yes.
And literally the owners have like 3 handles to hold the dog because he's really big, really strong. 3 handles. And working with him, teaching him to out. And he's come along so nicely.
Nice.
Because out, right when he sees it, you just have to be able to read his body language. And this is something I'm going to have to work with his owners, right? Just to kind of pay attention to the certain signs, difference of the ears going up as opposed to being relaxed. Just tone and out.
Yes.
Right? And boom, then you see his ears go relaxed, looks the other way, and his mind goes back neutral.
Yes.
Right? And so that's something I strongly have to work on when he goes home to make sure that they understand that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's definitely, whenever you're dealing with any type of reactivity, aggression, you have to make sure that the owners are aware of what they need to do going forward, because it is going to be management on their part.
Yes. I think it was just so much frustration that was built up
Mm-hmm.
He lunges, they pull, he pulls, and they pull harder, and boom, he just turns, and whoever's right next to him, he's
Yeah.
going for.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's classic redirection. You know
Mhm.
what? You're going to prevent me from getting to what I truly want. No,
Mhm.
you're next then. You're the target.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, that was classic. That's exactly what Lola did
Mhm.
at the console. She wanted to get at everything else, and I was telling her no. And then
Mhm.
she directed on the leash, and then she locked eyes on me. She said, "Okay, bitch, bring it."
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think Lola was a little bit more than just that. Lola just didn't want to be told what to
No,
do.
she didn't want to be. Yeah, she still doesn't really. She's
Yeah.
gotten a lot better,
Mhm.
but she still doesn't. And she's sensitive. She's a sensitive little girl,
Mhm.
but she does not. It does not
Mhm.
like to
Mhm.
be told what to do. Does
Mhm.
not like to be corrected. Does not like to be held accountable. She wants to make the rules. She wants to do what she wants to do, and screw everybody else.
Mhm.
She's getting a little bit better though.
Yeah. It takes time.
Yeah. She did
Takes
growl
time,
at Mike today,
you
though.
know. What happened?
She growled at Mike today.
Oh.
She was out. I was taking her out of the cage, and Mike opens the door, really fast, and
Yeah.
she doesn't have a muzzle. She doesn't have a leash, and she turns around and starts to growl. And I looked at her.
Yeah.
I said, "No." And she's just like, she just stopped and looked at me like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Steph, are you coming? Are you coming for a visit anytime soon?
I have my camp coming up this week, so I guess I won't be able to make it.
Oh, that's such a shame.
Mm-hmm.
I did
Yeah.
meet Lola. I met
You
Lola
did?
through the crate, which was good enough for me.
Right?
I like to keep my fingers intact.
You know what? I think I said
Yeah,
it in our
right.
last
Especially your
podcast.
pinky finger. You want to hold on to that?
I think I said it in our last podcast. I said I would love to see Lola meet Steph.
No,
I want to see what that's about.
no, ma'am.
Oh, she's a sweetheart. She'd
I
love on
leave
you.
that to the dragon tamers.
I don't know. I think you could handle her.
Yeah. Actually, you would be surprised. Her
Mhm.
obedience is on point.
She is
Mhm.
very, yes.
Obedience
She's
is
very
on
obedient.
point. On point.
Absolutely. She is rock solid with that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so we've been trying to use that to kind of divert her,
Mhm.
which is great because she gets, too focused on, everybody else, like the men, especially. She sees a man, she immediately stiffens up. And then, and it's a weird thing. I still can't figure out why she does it, but they pat her with, she's got a muzzle on, of course. They pat her, and then as soon as she starts to walk away, bam, she launches herself at their feet. If she
Wow.
didn't have that muzzle, goodbye feet.
Has anybody ever kicked her?
Maybe. We don't know. She's a
Yeah,
rescue.
she's a rescue.
But she
Yeah.
does not like men. And it seems like, it's not older men. It's more like, young adults to maybe low 40s is the age bracket that
Maybe
she seems to really not particularly like.
maybe someone traumatized her,
Probably.
Mhm.
Probably. Because she did have some scarring and she had a lot of issues when she first came in, hence why she had to have surgery on her ears, among other things. So she was one damaged little girl when they came in, and, when they got her. And
Wow.
who knows what she went through, but what we do know is she's adopted by a family that loves her, that is
Wow.
willing to do absolutely anything to, make her better. And they're 100% committed to that process. So, I am so proud of them. I'm so proud of, the fact that they've taken this girl on and are willing to invest the time, invest the money, the resources, whatever it's going to take, because they love her that much.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And she's a great girl. Don't get me wrong. She is. She's a tough cookie. She is a tough little girl, but she's an absolute sweetheart. Once you're in her good graces, once she loves you, that's it. She loves you. You can almost do anything you want to her if she trusts you. which
Yeah.
is fantastic. Anyway, any other issues that anyone can think of? I think we've
Mm,
answered a lot of the questions. I hope that we've answered, a lot of the questions that are out there. If anyone does have anything else, please write to us, text us, message, private message, put some things in the comments. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe and share and follow us on YouTube and subscribe on YouTube. We've got everything from YouTube to Facebook to TikTok, even. We did put out a funny video not that long ago. Things that you never thought a trainer would have to do. It was pretty hysterical. So go check that out.
mhm.
And we will see you all next week. Thank you for
Okay.
joining.
All
Loved
right.
having you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. We will see you
Sure.
next week. Buck you, dogs matter.